Hey tea heads, this is Don from Mayleaf, and yes, we're going a bit rogue today. If you've seen my vlogs, then you'll recognize this format. I was gonna do a proper sit down video, you know, set all the cameras up, get the lighting all nice, you know, get all the angles, and I went into the studio to set it up, and it is freezing in there, and I'm not putting myself through that. And so, yeah, we're just gonna do a one camera shoot, and we'll see how things go. And I want to introduce a tea with you today, introduce a tea to you today. This kind of suits the craziness and wildness of this style of video. This is Wild Slumber. Check out the cover. Love this cover. Super clean, super simple. What was it? It was an idea, like I've seen this about where people sort of make something look a bit 3D on the cover, look like it's actually on the paper. And I was talking with Celine about it, and we were tasting this tea, you know, many months ago, and I was like, this tea is just something different. Let's just make a completely different cover, make it super clean, super simple, but really like striking. And so here you go. This is Wild Slumber. Wild Slumber, and my arm is starting to ache. I can quickly show you the chaos here. These are tea samples that I'm supposed to be tasting today. Quite a few of them. Anyway, loads in there, and I've got more tea samples over there that I need to taste. It's all a bit crazy, but I'm going to put this camera up here on a tripod, because I did bring a tripod in, if this works. Like I say, if you've watched the vlogs, then, well, that's very high up, isn't it? If you've watched the vlogs, then you'll know this kind of crazy format. If you're not watching the vlogs, then please do join me on those crazy sessions. Can you see how far ahead? No. One more time, and then I will stop messing with the camera. That should be enough room for you to see everything. Right, so Wild Slumber. Wild Slumber. Let me get some teaware out. And let's brew in this. And I'm going to tell you about this tea. Hold on one second. All right, cool. How quickly can we set up a Gong Fu session? So Wild Slumber, this tea was one of those teas that, well, let me show you the cake. All right, so first look at the artwork. The dragon, the little sleeping dragon, Wild Slumber. And you can see down here, it's a 2025 Baimudan. The producer called it a Baimudan. We'll look at the leaf. I don't think it's a Baimudan, but like whatever. That's what they called it. I've kept the name. But crucially, it is from wild tea trees. Now, when I first saw this tea arrive, yep, and you can see nuts tea. That does not look like a Baimudan. When I first saw this tea arrive loose in a pouch, I looked at it and thought, what the heck is that? That looks like the most rough, gnarly sort of leaves, like completely, yeah, it did not inspire me. Let's put it that way. I was like, that looks rough as hell. But you know, whatever, everything gets a chance. And the moment I smelt the dry leaf, I was like, what the bleep is this? You know, how is this squeeze me? Like, what's going on here? And I tasted it, and it was like, this is the most insane white tea I've tasted for ages. And then I unblinded myself and found out that it was Baimudan. It looks more like Chaumet picking to me. And that it comes from wild tea trees. Now, you hear the expression wild tea trees a lot, right? It's kind of one of those things that a lot of producers and a lot of sellers love to chuck the wild word in because it makes it sound like it's more precious. And it is, because if it's wild, then potentially that means it comes from a very small batch of like plants, bushes that are growing, you know, somewhere that is sort of unmanaged, and therefore could produce some interesting flavors. However, you could also have just wild by the road, right? So wild doesn't mean it's going to always be higher quality. So I always see the word wild and I'm always like, meh. But when you taste this, or when I tasted this, it was like, that is unmistakably wild. And not just wild, but wild and old, which is very, very important. So this is 50 plus year tea trees. So it's like, and it's from the Dabai cultivar. We'll quickly scope it. Why don't we do that? Calm down, Don. Fujian, season April 2025. Cultivar Dabai, so the classic cultivar, which was introduced in sort of around, I think, around the 70s. So if it's 50 years old, then these would have been the first sort of bushes that were brought in around that time into Fujian. This comes from Fuding, sort of the classic area, Fuding, Fujian in China. The picking and processing, well, you can see, they call it a mudan. It looks, what a crazy mix of leaves. You've got like greens, you've got sort of blacks. It's gnarly. This is a gnarly tea. And it's kind of crazy. And the elevation is 1050 meters approximately, although that sounds pretty accurate to me. And so it should be accurate, because if you know exactly these wild bushes, you should know exactly what the elevation is. Oh, interesting. Interesting. What the heck happened here? I've got a jade star, Nefe, with the wild slumber. It's pressed at the same factory. They made a mistake. Oh no, sneak peek of jade star. You didn't see it. Don't rewind, you didn't see it. See, if I was in my studio, I'd be like, damn it, start again. No. We're going rogue. We're going wild. Flick that away. Okay, so you can see the leaves are kind of a crazy mix that just don't look like anything that you would consider to be a top quality tea. It's certainly something that is called a baimudan. And so, like I said, when I saw this pouch, I was like, come on. What are you sending me, Scout? And then I stuck my nose in it. You can see the tea that I've been drinking today. So yeah, if you're thinking he's a bit wired, well, I think you would be too, if you imagine this is all pretty much shampoo. Yeah, pretty much shampoo. Easy now. Take a sip of some shu. All right, so let's dive into wild slumber and see if it's going to have the same impact that it did when I tasted it a few months ago. The smell of the cake is, you can't smell anything on it. So I'm starting to get a little bit worried, because I remember the aroma on this tea was nuts. So I hope that it's just one of those, because it's big leaves, it like holds on to the aroma a bit more, and as soon as it goes into a warm Grand Dalbé, or a warm pot, I mean, it's gonna explode. Please explode with aroma. Please, that kind of worries me. Can't smell anything. But the smell of dry leaf, cold, is like one of the worst ways to judge a tea. One of the worst ways. Let's go. Ha! Yes. An explosion of the most insane aromatics in a white tea. It's sort of like the level of shock that I got when I smelt it a few months ago. It's the same here. It is just nuts. It is wild. It is a wild smell. Candy, just candy. I'm just smelling like hard-boiled candies. I'm smelling like white peach candy, elderflower, lemon drops, grapefruit. It is zesty, citrusy, just, grapefruit, Pocari Sweat, like grapefruit drinks, lilt, pineapple, grapefruit, elderflower, lemons, white peaches, so aromatic. And it really is another example that, trying to judge a tea by the smell of cold leaf is so deceptive. Because in many ways, if a tea has a lot of good fragrance and it's holding on to it, it's usually a better sign than if it's just sort of releasing it in the air, right? Like you're releasing those aromatics, well, then you're losing them. It's like it stays in the leaf and then it gets released when you brew it. And it is an amazing smell. There's a touch of, it is an amazing smell. It's just like Jolly Ranchers, fruit candy. It's like I'm in a sweet shop. I mean, that cover was intentionally a little bit like we wanted a baby dragon because it was about the childishness of this tea. And I mean that in a good way, like that sort of like beautiful, just like everyone's gonna love this smell, probably, unless you're a particularly grumpy person. It's so bright, it's just so unusual. I mean, I guess the closest that I could sort of compare it to would be if you've had yabao or ziya from Yunnan, so those purple buds or the elder white, if you know those teas. So purple bud, elder white, I'll put links in the description below so you can see. They have a very like unusual smell, and those of you who know, it's sort of like piney and resinous. And this has that as well. It has pine and resin, but this one is even more candied, It also has a slight hoppy note. So the grapefruit moves into hop craft beer, and it reminds me of the wild tea trees of Yunnan, the Yishang. So we have a black tea called Ancient Haze, which again is that wild smell. So when I smell that, I associate it with wild, but this is different because it's like a Fujian wild from a Dabai cultivar. It's different. It's different from the Assamica one. Tempted to put a bit more in because these are big leaves, but maybe I've had enough caffeine today. That should be a bit, but you need to know the body sensation, isn't it? So it is a crazy time. It's a crazy time. It always is a crazy time, but that's a bit too much now. Focus. Black Friday just launched. This tea is going to be there. I've already assigned it for this week's release. So I'm shooting this before we release the Black Friday sale, but it's going to be part of Black Friday sale. But you're going to see this on the weekend of the Black Friday sale, whatever. Did I get the message across? There's a sale on. Good. And this tea is part of it. Man, I have drunk too much tea today. And I don't even know what the time is. I think it's around 11 a.m. I'm probably not going to be best to judge the body sensation of this tea. So go check out the website and then you can look at what the body sensation is once I've sort of calmed down and have another session with it. I promise I'll do that so that you have a more accurate, oh my gosh, expression of this tea. So the wet leaf smell. Interesting, more herbal. We're moving into the herbaceous. Still got all of those top notes, the zesty, the fruits, all of that is there. But now we're moving into a little bit more in the forest. So the white tea note is coming through. I'm getting a bit more woodsy note. I'm getting like a sort of herbaceous moxa, if you know what moxa looks like. Medicinal, herbal, woody, a little bit custards, so creamy as well. But the custards have been like scented with lemon balm. There's also like a more adult little hit here, and I don't remember that from the sample, but I'm happy it's here because I remember the only question mark I had when I had the sample was, is this just too aroma forward? Does it have enough depth? And the smell here is telling me that that steaming process has just added an extra bit of oxidation. And it's giving me, what's the smell? It's almost reminiscent of a dark tea. It's almost reminiscent of, I mean, you can see these leaves. There are some that are very black or very, very dark. It's almost reminiscent of a dark tea, like that white, slightly winey wine gum, but the red, dark red, purple ones. I feel like I need to come closer. Dark red, purple ones. Okay. Still too hyper, Don. That's a big bowl of tea. Okay. I think you can forgive me. I'll just put that there so you can reference, plus this, so you can reference that there has been quite a lot of tea consumed already today. Okay, here we go. Let's focus on this tea. My stomach is gurgling because it has just been filled with a load of shung. Wild Slumber. Did I tell you everything about it? Let me just read it just to see. 2025 Fuding by Mudan, made from medium and large leaf pickings from 50-year-old bushes, grown wild for decades. Yeah, pressed in 2025. Let's see the color. With white teas, of course, you can choose how you want to brew it. If you want to brew it harder, this will brew up a dark color, I think, or darkish color. I quite like doing this rogue format. This is how I shoot my vlogs, as I said. If you want to go check out the vlogs, I'll put a link to the playlist. You can watch all 70 odd vlogs if you want, of me talking all over the place. Not that I don't do this and that in this video. Oh my God, not that I don't do that in these videos too. I got back from Prague like 2 days ago, and I'm still sort of just catching up. So apologies if I'm not the most zen person in the world. Here we go. Let's focus in on the tea and focus in on the mouth texture. Oh, but the taste is taking over. Okay. Mouth texture, I would say quite thick, like medium thick to thick, soft, smooth. Has an instant mineral physical nature, despite the initial opening in the mouth being quite smooth and soft. It like moves mineral. And I mean that I feel like a little fizzy, tingly, like sensation on my tongue, and a little bit of a, yeah, I taste the minerals. Oh, the taste. First salvo of this tea hits you with those grapefruit candies. Yeah, grapefruit candy. I love the smell of grapefruit. Isn't it a great smell? Grapefruit's one of the greatest, I think, citrus fruit smells because it's just got that extra little edge to it. And this has got so much grapefruit. But it is this candied sweets, white peaches, elderflower, lemon, lemon balm, still got the custard. Herbaceous note is there. Yeah, like a moxa, or possibly moving slightly into the dried mint territory. Not quite so minty, but that, you know, that dried mint is very tempered down mint aromatic. It's sort of like a different spice, like fresh mint and dried mint. I see them in a culinary sense to be used completely differently. Yeah, that kind of dried leaf note of the dried mint. But so you've got that mid ground, you've got that middle, then you've got all of the candy tops, and there is a woodsy base. So I am happy because the steaming process is clearly like just sort of given it some extra depth. Not that I wouldn't be happy anyway with those top notes, because they're just like ridiculous. And yeah, I think this is going to be one of those teas that will surprise anybody who's been drinking tea for a long time, and would be like a tea that if you gave it to a noob, they'll be like, oh, I like white tea. You'd be like, well, you're never going to taste another white tea like this, but you know, enjoy. This is a great, great gift tea. Yes, it wasn't an accident. I thought like that is the perfect gift tea for Christmas. Lovely. Aftertaste or finish. Definite mineral dryness. Interestingly, I'm getting an almost yin-yang like feeling in my mouth. Like it's mineral and tingly, and then I'm getting like a catch in the throat and a release of vapor. And it demonstrates, I think, the age of these tea trees and the fact that they were left to go wild, because it's got that very like, we've got deep roots. We're like, you know, really in the soil. There's a lot of like slow growing and like sucking up the minerality, because it's not being harvested regularly, and it's not sort of like being pushed for yield. It's just being left to grow. So the leaves just have that sort of extra like mineral quality to them, and you combine that with that feral taste of like candy top notes, and it is a completely unique wild tea experience. I mean, you know, I've been tasting white teas for 25 years, and this was a tea that like properly like shocked me when I was just like, never tasted white tea like this before. And isn't that beautiful? The fact that you can be tasting tea for so long from the same area, and then you just pick some different bushes in a different way, larger leaf picking, and bam, you have wild slumber. Love this artwork. Love this artwork. I have a feeling this is going to be a bit of a favorite. I want it on a t-shirt. Don't you? I don't know. Love it. Right, second infusion. These are larger leaves, so they're going to brew dark. They're going to take some time to brew into, and they're going to, I think, brew dark. But I don't want to brew too heavy, because I want to make sure I prolong the top note quality of this tea. Wow. Hedgehog, come in here. Yeah, more of like an orange candy color. Right, second infusion. Let's see what the minerality is doing, because it might be one that you need to control the brew of, because the minerals could get quite strong because of this wild nature of the tea tree. Okay, wow, yeah, interesting. That winey notes coming through, so I'm getting those wine gums. I'm getting the grapefruit and stuff, but now we're moving a little bit more into baked. It's got a baked taste, like baked oranges. Thinly sliced oranges, bake them, and then you've got like this, you know, beautiful like garnish for a cocktail, right? Where it's got the zest, but it's just cooked in. The sugars are cooked in a bit more, so it's got a bit more of a sweet, sugared, like baked sugar cooked note. Really, really lovely. And that is a beautiful mesh with the top notes, which are still there. Now, if you wanted to, like, I think you could play with balance on this. So if you brewed shorter infusions, and even maybe cooler temperature, because I'm brewing at boiling point, then you could play with the EQ, I think, beautifully on this tea. This is a tea that you could really adapt the taste according to your preferences, just by small tweaks in brewing. Shorter, cooler, probably bring out more of those top notes for longer. Hotter and a bit longer, you're going to get more of the warmth and the the sugared notes, the woodsy notes. The minerals are still really gentle, but there's this distinct little yin yun again. Like there's something in this tea which reminds me of a rock oolong. Not as extreme, but it's there. There's a mineral smack that happens in your mouth with this tea. And as it cools, again, the top notes come through. The grapefruit candy, just Jolly Rogers, I'll call it, but it's unbelievable. How did the bush, how does it create this? Just by being left alone. If you think about it, this is the Dabai cultivar, which is the most commonly used, or one of the most commonly used, at least it was, before it got replaced by cultivars that were a little bit less resistant, or more resistant to the cold. So this is like a very commonly used variety to make tea, white tea in Fuding, and yet it tastes wildly different. And it's fascinating how just growing conditions and being left unpicked and untended just creates this flavor. And as I say, if you want me to make a comparison, I would say this is closest to the taste of Ancient Haze. So that black tea with the hoppy grapefruit note, it has a similar quality, and that's a Yesheng. So that's considered a wild tea tree in China, different variety, and that's the closest. But it is still a white tea. You still get that white tea quality. The sort of more caramelled woodsy notes of, and sort of like moving into the aged white tea territory. Now, how is this tea going to age? Who knows? I mean, that actually makes me super excited. How is this going to age? This is 2025. This is fresh. Look at it again. That's fresh, right? And it already looks like a lot of darkness in there. How is it going to age? What's it going to be like in 5 years' time? Given the right sort of humidity and temperature, this could turn into like totally insane tea. And the problem with wild is, like, once you start picking the wild bushes, then they stop being wild, right? Like, okay, you're still going to have that character persisting for a while, but if you start to like pick those teas regularly and you start to manage them, then it starts to change. It will change, right? So this is like a snapshot in time, and what's it going to do as time progresses? 10 years time. I mean, I'm going to have about 20 cakes. So I'll see. I might nab a few more because I have a feeling that this one might be one of those ones that, I don't know, when I hit my 70s, I'll be like, oh, wild slumber, let's wake the sleeping dragon. Let's smell the empty Gongda Bay. Again, that little winey note is coming through. So I'm getting oranges. What I'm seeing is a sabayon. So it's like an alcohol cooked creaminess, sabayon, but like with lots of orange zest in, and some baked oranges as well. Beautiful orangey and creamy and custardy. Lovely. Okay. Now, as I said, I can't really assess the body sensation too much. But what I will say is that I have the sense that this tea is pretty wild in terms of its body sensation. I'm getting a different kind of fizzy fuzz happening in my head. I can't be sure. I can't be sure if it's a combination of this and this, but it's definitely adding something new. Now, as I said, I'll drink it. Don't splurt. This kettle splurts sometimes. I'll drink it in a standalone session, isolated from other teas, as much as is possible in my life. And I'll give it a proper session, and I'll put the body sensation in the description. But the sense I get right now is that this is spinning me out in a different direction. I think this is going to be quite a raucous kind of tea. Maybe the Sleeping Dragon is not, I don't think you're going to go to sleep on it. But if you do, you'll definitely have some wild dreams. Right, we're going to have one more infusion of this. And then I'm going to have to go and edit this because I need to get Black Friday sale up online. As I said, when you watch this, it will be. But I just got back from Prague and I'm racing a little bit. I am racing. Wow, it's got a little soapy quality to the leaf as well. Even a little bit of a, floral soapy quality. Fresh. It's the kind of smell that I would imagine you'd want to shampoo, like grapefruity and soapy quality. Color of the liquor even darker. I'm starting to get a bit worried now. This tea is going to brew strong and hit me like a sledgehammer. Here we go. Third infusion, the strongest yet. Oh yes, okay. This tea is a journey. This tea is gonna, as I said, you're gonna have to play with it. I think every session is gonna be different depending on what you want to get out of it. I'm, as I said, brewing it, boiling water, a lot of leaf, right? If you wanted to be a little bit more gentle, cooler, less leaf, etc. But it's really expressing a character that shows shows that this ain't just a cutesy tea. Ooh, lovely. Those herbal notes are coming through. It's like really interesting because I'm still picking up those custards and the oranges, the baked oranges, the cooked sugars, and then the grapefruit, little twang. I'm picking up the wine gums, but there's this really warm herbal and I'm trying to put my finger on it. I mean, I said moxa before. Maybe. One more sip. This is a tough one for me. Let the mind go, let the mind go. I'm trying to think it too much. It keeps popping up dried mint, but it's not so minty. So what's another dried herb? Hold on. Okay. It's like you've taken some dried thyme, dried mint, dried oregano, depending on your preference. But you've really you've kind of created this little Mediterranean dried spice mix, right? And it's still got that woodsy quality, that the woodsier herbs. It's got that woodsy quality that gives it this structure and satisfaction. And That, when you combine that with the sort of cooked sugars and custards, and then the little grapefruit top notes and the wine gums, it becomes a really satisfying, strong white tea experience that I think will age amazingly. Because I think what will happen as that ferments is that those herbal notes will become more like herbal liquors, ports and wines, and you're going to get a really interesting combination as it ages. I think this is going to be a tea that we're going to keep dipping into as the years progress. Anyway, there you go. Wild Slumber. For sure, it's giving me something else in terms of the body sensation. Go check out the description to learn more about it once I've had the tea in isolation. It's a crazy tea. It's mad. It is a tea gone feral, and let's all celebrate that because they don't come around often. That's it, tea heads. Check out our other videos. I'm not going to make it to the end. I can feel it. Check out our other videos, taste our teas wherever you are in the world by browsing mayleaf.com, and come visit us if you're ever in London. Other than that, I'm Don from Mayleaf. Thank you for being part of the revelation of true tea. Stay away from the tea bags. Keep drinking the mental stuff and spread the word because nobody deserves bad tea. I did it.